Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say I'm not coming here to attack Christianity. That's not my main goal. My main goal is to create bonds and friendships.
Okay.
In the long run, in the Quran, Surah Al-Imran, it states that come together with the people of the book and come to common grounds. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that passage.
Yes.
So that's why I want to continue that tradition, and hopefully, I don't want to attack anyone's belief, like to the point where I'm being unjust.
Okay.
If I ever do come across like that, I apologize. And that's all I wanted to say.
That's fine with me. I personally, I'm somebody who
and I'm
goes,
approaching every conversation with Christians with the main message being peace.
Okay, that's fine. That's honorable. Fundamentally for me, I don't take what we discuss as anything malicious, personally. But I go by the idea that Christ already told us that because the world hated him, that we will also be hated for preaching the gospel and preaching Christ.
Yeah.
I am not saying that you hate me. I am simply saying that it is par for the course when you come to the park, go anywhere you want, even in the office, and preach the gospel, that people will not always be receptive to it.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not saying that's where you fall under. I'm just saying that it's expected. So I am not, if it did go down that route, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you want to keep it cordial, I'm fine.
Yeah,
with
I want to keep it cordial. I don't want to insult.
Okay.
I don't want to insult Christianity, and maybe some things I said before came across in the wrong context. But I didn't mean for them to come across like that.
I want you to know one thing about me.
Sure.
I fundamentally disagree with Islam.
Yeah,
I do.
I understand that. I understand
Okay.
that. Yeah. But I mean, I want to keep it cordial and not like little attacks here and there from my side and from your side.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's
all I wanted to say.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
So,
did you want to discuss anything in particular, or do you want to carry on where we were just now with the Kaaba stuff? Or
I think the Kaaba stuff will be interesting after you've had a look at this. So
okay.
I think it's good to start off from where we left off on Yajuj and Majuj.
Yes, sure. Okay. So just to summarize, at least as of last week, the idea was that a possible hypothesis as to who Yajuj and Majuj are might be the Mongols.
Yeah.
Okay? And I read the Surah 18 from like verse 94 downwards, and the description of the people who lived in that region of the world and the construction of the wall did not line up with that of the Great Wall of China. Okay?
An earlier iteration of the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China was made in, I think, the 12th century, but an earlier iteration.
7th century
BC.
BC.
There's always been walls there since the 7th century BC.
Okay. Right? Now, are there any walls that match the description of the one given for Yajuj and Majuj, or do you want to offer a different perspective on that today?
No, I want to offer the same perspective. So I just want to say I'm not just coming off of this from my own accord.
Okay.
Fakhruddin al-Razi, Abu Hayyan al-Andalusi, and al-Qurtubi all also believed that the Mongols were Yajuj and Majuj. Their opinion was often discredited based on the fact that the Muslims of the time thought that there was no wall that the Mongols trespassed.
Okay.
But now, according to modern understanding, we have an idea that the Great Wall of China was the wall that was built, and earlier iterations of that wall was a wall that was built to keep the Mongols out of China. Okay. And that was the wall they trespassed when they went on to do the invasions.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the wall wasn't made out of the material described.
Okay.
Right?
Last time we talked, I mentioned, are you categorically stating that there was no iron used at any portion of that wall?
Iron and bronze,
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So,
because don't forget that the description says that there were blocks of iron and bronze that were used to fill up a gap.
Sure. So I have clear historic proof of iron being used to seal a portion of this gate in the year 1213.
Okay, but
the Great Wall, an earlier iteration of the Great Wall was the Jiyungan Great Wall. I probably butchered that, right? But the Jin army, defending the wall from the Mongols, sealed the north gate with melted iron.
Okay.
This time, Genghis Khan led his army southward through a side road which had a weaker pass and attacked Jiyungan through that pass. And that's what went on to conquer China. So there is clear historic evidence of an earlier iteration of the Great Wall having melted iron.
Okay, and this was in the 13th century, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
the description
the fact that they've used that once possibly indicates the fact that that could have been used previously as well.
Okay. So
You said, how can the Great Wall of China be made of just stone?
yes.
I've shown you evidence that there was melted iron before the stone.
Awesome.
Okay.
The only issue is that you have told me that iron was used to seal a gate.
Yeah.
The description in the Quran is not a gate. It is a gap between two mountain ranges, which
Sure.
which is very large. But also the event happening.
Two mountains, not two mountains.
Sorry, two mountains. The event occurring in the Quran is not a prophecy. It is a telling of a past event. Meaning that if there was no Dhul Qarnayn present in the 13th century to seal that wall, then that is not the same event being spoken about in the Quran that you are referencing from the 13th
Absolutely,
century.
that's not my argument. My argument is that there's clear historical evidence that melted iron was used to seal a portion of that wall in the 12th century, in the 13th century.
Which can be fine.
Which can possibly indicate that the fact that melted iron could have been used in previous iterations of the wall. And you don't...
No, I'm
you
afraid
can't.
that doesn't work as an argument.
Why not? Because iron was used during that time
So,
period.
for example,
Iron was used during
I
that
have
time
no
period.
problem with believing that iron was used in the 12th century. We're very far into human history at this point.
Sure.
And iron works are the norm.
Sure.
However, if you're trying to convince me that iron was used in the 7th century BC...
I'm not saying the 7th century BC. I just stated that there have been walls since the 7th century BC,
Yep.
which have kept the Mongols out.
Okay.
And I'm not saying this happened in the 7th century BC.
Okay.
I'm saying from that time period up to the Prophet, peace be upon him, there have been walls that were keeping the Mongols out.
So the presence of a material,
proto-Mongols.
The presence of a material occurring in a past time does not indicate that same material was used in the time prior.
You made a definitive statement.
For example,
you made a definitive statement
that there is no iron and bronze.
There's no iron and bronze
Yes.
that was used in the Great Wall prior to what exists
No,
today. I have
just
shown
said
you
none.
that there was iron that was used to seal a portion of the gate in 1213, I believe, by the Jin army.
Okay, but again, you're showing me this only because you're saying that if it was there in the 12th century, it could have been there prior. And I am telling you that this is a new technology that wasn't there prior.
But the new technology is not the existence of iron. The existence of iron did exist.
The manipulation of iron to be able to actually fortify like a wall or a gate.
So you're saying prior to the 12th, 13th century, iron was never used to fortify any gates in history?
Iron was probably used prior to the 12th century. However, can we pinpoint any time in history between the commencement of the very initial Great Walls in the 7th century BC and the time of Muhammad that would showcase to you that iron was being used to actually build the wall and lace it over with copper?
Yeah, but you said this completely categorically says that it can't be the Great Wall. But it
can be the Great Wall. No, it cannot be. The Great Wall isn't between two mountains.
Last time you said...
Nobody non-Chinese ever worked on the wall, for example.
Last time you said the Great Wall is not built across mountains.
It's not.
It is. The Jundan Mountains are a mountain range.
It's not built
I don't think you understand
mountains.
the definition of mountain range and mountains. Because a mountain range is composed of mountains.
Okay, it's not built between mountains. It is built over mountains, perhaps, and then in mountain valleys. But
you're saying
there is
entire
no section built between two mountains.
You're saying the entire Great Wall along the whole Mongolian border.
Yes.
At no point does it go between two mountains. It's built across two mountains, and between two mountains are the same thing.
It is not built between two mountains, and then secondly, what also makes it funnier is that you will not actually find. So if let's say, for example, that we are holding the Great Wall of China as being potentially where
potentially, I'm not stating categorically.
Potentially, if we're holding it as being potentially the site in which Dhul Qarnayn built the wall, like you said, since time essentially does not work for this theory. Since the 7th century BC till the 12th century AD, there is, if the wall, as we know, already existed thousands of years prior to the event you're describing, the people at the time would not ask Dhul Qarnayn to fortify the wall for them, because potentially before he was even alive, they were already building this wall, so they would be the ones to do it for themselves if they wanted. They wouldn't need his help.
Why would they need his help?
Because
this is any portion of the Great Wall. The Great Wall is massive.
He didn't give them help. All he did was instruct them to build the wall anyway. So, but then,
I'm saying my position is held by Fakhruddin al-Razi, al-Qurtubi, Al-Hayyan al-Andalusi.
Okay, now,
so this is...
I want to know one thing. Are they agreeing with this, or are they just simply documenting it? Because you're kind of throwing them in a hole.
They are given the position that Yajuj and Majuj could possibly indicate to the Mongols at some period of time.
Okay, but they're not saying it definitively.
Yeah.
So what do you think the wall is?
I'm not saying anywhere the wall is definite. I'm saying a potential possibility of the Great Wall. The Great Wall of China could potentially fulfill the wall that keeps Yajuj and Majuj back. And that is the position of the scholars I just gave. The reason that their position was dismissed was because another scholar mentioned the fact that that wall, right? That wall, that there was no wall that was stopping the Mongols. So that's why it can't be the Mongols. But the fact is, the Great Wall of China, which we understand now, was a wall that was built to keep the Mongols out of China. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying 100% it's the Great Wall of China. I'm saying this is a potential possibility.
The description of the wall in the Quran,
Yeah.
it says وَسَوَى بَيْنَ الصَّدَفَيْن.
Sure.
الصَّدَفَيْن is basically two shells. You know the shell, the seashell? When they're open, they're like this. So it's not a big range.
Yeah.
It's two mountains and it's between them. It closes that area.
Yeah. But I'm saying.
The rest of the crew.
Yeah.
That cannot be climbed
what do you
easily.
mean?
Otherwise they would have
But I'm
climbed
happy to have
beside
this discussion off camera. It's just I'm
Oh,
discussing with
I don't
him,
think we're ready.
Yeah, but that
I don't think we're ready
I'm not saying Dul Qarnayn, right? He built it between the two mountains that you're saying. Yeah. No, it's from the scholars. I'm not just coming up with it for myself. Al-Qurtubi mentioned this, right?
It's been dismissed.
No, it's not been dismissed. This is a position that's held in the Islamic tradition.
But can you tell me where it is?
Sure. I can do this after. I would just. Sure. But honestly, this is a position that's held. I'm not just making this from. But I've given you the scholars. So, yeah. Okay, the position of Fakhruddin al-Razi. Al-Qurtubi.
Question about the Bible.
Can I come to you, please, at the end? Is that okay?
Up to you.
Yep, if you don't mind. Just because I'm having a conversation with this gentleman, and the last time that I started taking additional questions, the people in the comments weren't happy.
And Ibn Ashur, are you familiar with
thank
Ibn Ashur? Okay, no worries. But he says that this is potentially a miracle of the Quran predicting the Mongol invasion.
He was here last week, I think.
He was talking about something in the past. He was talking about Dul Qarnayn.
Yeah, but Dul Qarnayn built the wall to prevent Yajuj and Majuj coming in, right?
That's Dul Qarnayn.
Yeah. But I'm brother. Okay, yeah, sure. So I'm honestly, I'm coming from a position of Islamic tradition. I'm not coming from my own beliefs, and I can justify this after. So yeah, sure. No worries, brother.
Okay,
yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, so again, it is very unlikely that what you are describing in any way coincides with history.
Sorry, I just want to. Okay, so brother.
Yo, bro.
I just want to give you another evidential, right? So there was an Abbasid Caliph called Al-Wathiq Billah. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him.
I'm probably not.
Right?
Okay.
So he had a dream where Yajuj and Majuj were breaking through
and then he sent somebody to go.
And he sent someone to get the. And he sent someone called Salam the polyglot.
And the guy came back and said,
with
all good.
100 soldiers.
To
go and try and find where the Great Wall is. So Salman the polyglot came back
and said it's okay.
And he stated that where the wall was where it seemed to be where the Great Wall currently resides. So there is, I'm giving another potential evidence for my position.
Okay. Well,
are you aware of that story? You mentioned you were.
I've heard.
Am I dictating that in the right way?
That's what I've heard. Okay. The only problem is the emergence of Yajuj and Majuj is apparent. Yajuj and Majuj. Yeah, I'm sorry. Is apparently already foretold in both Al-Trimidi as well as a book by a guy called Imam an-Nawawi. And apparently what it says is the emergence of Yajuj and Majuj will coincide with Isa killing the Dajjal.
Sure. I'm not discounting the possibility this is multiple fulfillments of prophecy, where in the future there will be a Yajuj and Majuj that come at the end times, but I'm saying an earlier probably proto-prophecy was the fact that the Mongol invasion came.
Okay, well, I would say that's probably making a mountain out of a molehill.
Sure.
Because essentially, like, the story does not talk about two emergences. Because if you're not familiar, the idea is that the wall is as such, where when the people of Yajuj and Majuj attempt to break it down, the next day when they return, all their progress will be reset.
Okay, I need to look into the hadiths there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because
But-
if not, they would have broken the
But
wall
that
by
was
now.
at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. The Mongol invasion did not happen at the time of the Prophet, peace be
Okay.
upon him. There were proto-Mongols, like the people that existed there
Okay.
before, on an early iteration of the wall, and
Right.
they constantly try to break through the walls that China built to keep them out.
Okay, but effectively, it also says that in order for them to actually come out of the, and here's the funny thing. So it says the prophets told us how arrogant they will be, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, become upon their success. Essentially, when they break through the wall, they shoot their arrows into the heavens, so they returned dyed blood with them. And
That's, the Mongols were known to be good archers.
Okay, great, because they shoot into the heavens to essentially taunt Allah, and then Allah will vanquish them by causing a growth to spawn on their necks.
Funny you mentioned that because the
And
Black
killing them.
Plague,
Yep.
Black Plague coincided with the Mongol invasion.
Isn't it funny?
caused serious damage
To
to the
Europe.
Mongol population.
Not the
It
Mongols.
did. It affected the Mongol. Are you saying it didn't affect the
Not
Mongols
as
at all?
much as Europe, not
But it did
at all.
affect their invasions. I believe many of the leaders did die due to the Black Plague.
But this is meant to kill all of them, so they didn't all die here. So unfortunately,
No, but like that there, I gave you an example there.
No, but they didn't all
could
die.
be another potential
Because
prophecy.
It's funny because if anything, more Europeans died as a result
Sure,
than
but
the Mongols.
where does it say? Like, where does it discount that?
So essentially, the growth is supposed to kill
Okay.
Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and not the Europeans.
You want to go to the Europeans, right?
Yes, I do.
So the Polish, when the Mongols were invading,
Yep,
okay, let me just find.
because they did come into Europe via Russia. I know that.
Sure. Let me just find why I researched on that. When they entered Poland and Hungary and annihilated Christian armies, a terrified Europe concluded that the Mongol invasion were the Magogli, the offspring of Magog and Magog. So that is documented. I can give you further proofs.
But they don't.
traveler-
Christians don't believe that.
But they were Christians at the time that believed that.
Christians don't
They
believe
were
in
Christians at the-
Ya'juj and Ma'juj. so
Okay, you're
that's
going to say
false.
that on camera. So
yes.
it's a ridiculous idea, the fact that there's thousands of them.
That Christians believe in the Islamic telling of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Absolutely.
Can I just get my book?
Absolutely, go ahead. Christians do not believe in the Islamic telling of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. They believe in a Gog and Magog, but that's a little bit different.
Okay,
It's complicated. I'll bring you in.
so let's go to Gog and Magog
Yes.
in the Bible, right?
The Islamic telling of them. Let's go.
Okay, so in Revelation 20, there is mention of Gog and Magog.
Okay.
The judgment of Satan. When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison
Yep.
and will go and deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. In number, they are like the sand of the seashore. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people. So Gog and Magog are referred to in the Bible.
No, so again, Gog and Magog are
Yeah.
not two groups. They are a people that come from a particular region of the world.
Sure.
Now, the telling of Gog and Magog is not the same as it is in the Quran. Here, Satan is gathering an army. There's something called the Millennium Battle. I am not very familiar with it, but essentially the idea being that Christ will come back and reign on earth for 1,000 years. And in that time, the devil will be defeated and imprisoned and waiting his final judgments. This is describing a last hurrah, where he will attempt once more in order to kill the Messiah and destroy his kingdom, but it won't work. So this is not the same as the telling of Ya'juj and Ma'juj within the Quran.
Okay,
And if anything, that the story of Ya'juj and Ma'juj probably comes from Revelations.
Okay, I'm just going to give a couple more things
Yeah.
to indicate possibly Ya'juj and Ma'juj are the Mongols.
we would never agree that it's the Mongols because essentially
So who is this?
So the story that so again within Christian theology,
Sure.
the story you're reading is something that is happening at the end of days. So it's not happened yet. Christ hasn't come back and reigned for 1,000 years yet.
Yeah.
So probably pointing to the Mongols as being the culprits
I'm not-
behind
I'm
Ya'juj and Ma'juj is not going to work.
No, I'm going to say that what are these Gog and Magog according to you guys?
Some sort of people who will follow the devil.
That are
That's
in the
all.
four corners of the earth and number like the sand on the seashore.
So that means that they will come from all points of the earth. That's
But
what the four
why
corners
can't
mean.
the Islamic position that says similar to that? Why doesn't that hold?
Because they don't. Because they don't come from the four corners of the earth. They're meant to come here.
Yeah, I agree.
That's one thing. And again, even with the Islamic position, the event that is being described with Gog and Magog is again an event that will take place in the future upon the return of Isa.
Sure.
So if it's taking place in the future, even from the point that we are at now, it's unlikely that it's going to be the Mongols.
No, but I'm saying that could be the Mongols could potentially fulfill a lot of those prophecies, and then like you guys believe that Jesus, peace be upon him, came, and then he didn't fulfill all the prophecies at once. He'll come back again and fulfill all the prophecies again.
Absolutely.
So you're doing a double standard here, where you're saying my position.
So is that how the Quran works? If you say yes, then we can talk about that. But I don't think so.
Okay. But I just want to mention a few more things regarding the Mongols, the potentiality of it being the Mongols. Traveller, Friar, Ricardo,
I hope no Mongols watch this.
No,
angry.
I have nothing against the Mongolian people. I have the Mongolian friend, everything. I'm talking about certain Mongolians in history.
Well, I don't understand why you're driving this point home.
Yeah, but I just want to
not them.
I just want to make the point, the fact that you ridiculed the possibility of this happening last time. I'm giving further evidences.
And I'm telling you that according to our Trinity, these events are happening upon the return of Isa. So it can be the Mongols.
Sure, but why? Okay.
That's real.
I just want to give a couple more points, and then we can move on to another.
Just so nobody in the comments goes too aggressive on you if they're a Muslim. If you can you clarify if the scholars that you are quoting simply commented on this or actually believed it?
From my understanding, they commented this is a possibility.
Okay, they commented. Okay, but they didn't believe it.
On some of them did believe it, from my understanding.
Okay.
Some of them.
All right, that's fine. Just because I know, for example, that there are writings of like a whale that carries the entire world on its back being described.
Yeah, that was based on Da'if hadith.
But it's being written by Islamic historians and scholars. I can't tell you they believed in it, but they wrote it down. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to give a couple more points on this, and then we can move on, because I'm not going to die on this hill of the Mongols. Right?
Okay.
So,
all right.
Okay. So Traveller and a Friar, Ricardo de Monti de Croci, I probably butchered that name.
Okay.
Put in 1291 that the Mongolians, they refer to themselves as descended from Gog and Magog.
Okay.
And on this account, they are called Mogolai, as if from a corruption of Magogolai.
Okay.
Marco Polo, traveling when the initial terror subsided, places Gog and Magog among the Tartars in Tenduk, but then claims that the names Gog and Magog are translations of the place names Ung and Mongol, which are inhabited by the Ung and Mongols respectively. Okay. That's
effectively it's all of this stuff is still incorrect in that I don't even know.
Okay, if you want to just okay, I just want to go back.
So I'm looking at something real quick.
Sure.
Carry on though.
Just another point that you raised last time was the fact that you clearly stated if in the cultural context of Judea, if there is a seed that was known to the people that was smaller than a mustard seed,
that
would then
sprout into a...
No. That was another claim you made. This was the first claim you made.
It was both of them.
If there was a seed that was smaller than the mustard seed in the region of Judea that was known in that cultural context, that would prove Jesus wrong in the New Testament.
Right.
And there is the orchid. The orchid is a seed that is smaller than a mustard seed.
Okay.
So, and that was known to the people of Judea at the time, and it was known to their cultural context.
Okay.
So, if Jesus, peace be upon him, according to the New Testament, was here right now and was preaching, and he said, as you all know, the mustard seed is the smallest of all seeds, I could potentially correct him and say, the orchid is the smallest seed that we all know in our cultural context. How can God make a mistake like that? All
right, awesome. So, like I said last week already, that this was not a factual statement by Christ.
You literally said last time, if there is a seed...
You can go back and look at it if you want.
We can.
Okay. But I said that what is being described here is not a factual statement. It's an analogy for faith. Mustard seeds are very small, and then when they sprout, they grow into much larger trees than you would expect from a small seed. In the same way, if you, like Christ said, even have faith as small as a mustard seed, then you can nurture it and it will grow larger. That is all Christ was saying. He wasn't making factual statements. That's all. But again, my problem was that if we are going to hammer home any kind of scientific inconsistencies in the Bible, then if we would apply the same criteria to the Quran...
I never said that anyone's faith in Christianity should hold to the Bible.
So which
it should hold to science.
Which point are you making then?
But that is clearly definitively proven wrong according to the cultural context in Judea at that time. They were aware of a seed smaller than a mustard seed.
But then were they aware of a seed smaller than a mustard seed that will then sprout into a seed, into a tree?
Where does it say that? Where does it say that?
Literally, go back and get the verse, because it literally says that. It says if you would have faith as small as a mustard seed. If you...
I got the Bible here if you want.
No, I mean, go get it if you want, but I can get my phone. I read it last time as well. It was in Matthew, I think. Matthew 17:20, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
So...
Yeah, I found it.
I read this last time, but 17:20?
Yeah.
Oh.
17, Matthew 17, verse 31. He told them
that's the one. Okay.
another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field.
I think that's the different one.
Though it is the smallest of all seeds.
All right, that's right.
There.
Yep. Please carry on.
Yeah, sure. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that birds come and perch on the branches.
Okay, so again, it is an analogy because the kingdom of heaven is not a mustard seed. So therefore, he is simply expressing that something small can become larger. It's not a factual statement whatsoever.
Okay.
It's an analogy.
Can I make an equivalence of this?
Go ahead.
If I say I am the smallest of all the people in the park, yet I am the loudest in voice, that's factually incorrect.
No, it's not.
Because I'm over 6 foot, even though you make me smaller.
Are you talking about your size, or are you talking about your status? In that you're new to the park, you're not well established compared to everybody else. So therefore, in that regard, you can curse the smallest. Again, it's an analogy.
No,
it's not factual.
The criteria you gave last time was this is not about the whole world. This is about the cultural context in Judea. So it's not talking about if there's a smaller seed in the whole world. It's talking about if there's a smaller seed in Judea.
That also
and if
sprouts.
there is a smaller seed in Judea.
That sprouts?
That sprouts, sure.
Into a larger tree?
No, it doesn't give that. It says it says, what you're saying is true, it would say, though it is a small seed, yet it sprouts. But it doesn't say that. It says, though it is the smallest of all seeds. So what you're saying is wrong.
It's an analogy. So effectively, with an analogy, you don't have to be factually correct. An analogy is simply putting it across a point in a more understandable way. So Jesus Christ,
if somebody was there back then, and Jesus of the New Testament is preaching, and then somebody comes and says, excuse me, there is a smaller seed, the orchid, he's correcting God.
Well, hold on a second. Would he be correct in saying the orchid? Does the orchid grow into a larger tree than the mustard seed? If it doesn't, then Christ is still correct in his analogy.
No, those are two disconnected statements.
No,
I mean, they're connected, but not connected
it's the same
in the way that you're saying.
It's the same one.
Yeah, I'm saying.
You read it yourself.
They're not connected in the way you're putting it across.
They are, because the mustard seed is only relevant because it's tiny and grows big. That's all.
We're just going to disagree on this.
If you're arguing with analogies, I mean, like Christ compares the kingdom of heaven, or the coming of the kingdom of heaven, to 10 virgins. The kingdom of heaven isn't 10 virgins, it's an analogy. So I don't know why you argue with analogy. Analogies are simply examples used to prove a point, that's all.
Yeah, but if you incorporate the word is the smallest of all seeds, you're making a definitive statement.
Not necessarily, because within the context, it's still an analogy. So like you just said, if you said that you were the smallest of all men in the park, you have the loudest voice. Because you are tall, we cannot assume that you're talking about your own size, or potentially it could be reputation, it could be confidence level, it could be something that applies to what you were saying. That's all. And we can use our own rationale and reason to understand that you're not talking about your height. In the same way, we should use that to understand that when Christ spoke about the mustard seed, he was not saying factually that it was indeed the world's smallest seed,
according to the New
but
Testament,
that it was
a factual statement
that became a larger tree.
According to the
just
New
as your
Testament,
faith should.
It is a factual statement.
And I think even Matthew 17:20 talks about this as well. I was going to read that for you as well. So which says, Christ is speaking, and Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, ye shall say unto a mountain, remove hence to yonder place. Oh, sorry, let me read ESV. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Okay, so Jesus said, he said to them, because of your little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Again, Christ is using the mustard seed as an example of something small that can accomplish something larger. That's all it is. Nothing here to do with factual statements. It's an analogy. Because if you go and take everything Christ said literally, I'm not sure if you've heard about this, Christ says that it is better for you to take your eye and cast it away than to allow it to let you sin and cast you into hell. It is better for you to sever your hand than to allow it to lead you to hell. In Christian history, do we have Christians blinding themselves and cutting off their hands? We don't. Because logically, we understand that these were statements that would profess a certain idea to us, not literal statements. That's all.
Okay, I just want to, we've given our respective positions. I'm just going to give my position one more time.
Sure.
Jesus Christ of the New Testament states categorically, the mustard seed is the smallest of all seeds. Everybody can read it for themselves. My friend here gave the example that it's not referring to the whole world, it's referring to the cultural context of Judea. They are not aware of a seed smaller than the mustard seed.
Sorry, thank you.
That they are not aware of a seed smaller than the mustard seed. I have given... Sorry.
Hopefully someone will be happy with that.
I have given the fact that there is a seed called an orchid, and the seed of an orchid is smaller than a mustard seed, and the orchid was well known to the people of Judea. It was well known to their cultural context. So if someone was around whilst this was being preached, they could correct God himself according to your position.
Okay. For the third time, and I guess final time, it's an analogy, it's not factual, and even with the orchid, does the orchid fulfill the concept of the analogy? Does the orchid grow into a very large tree? Probably not. I'm not entirely sure. And even if it did grow into a large tree, would it be larger than a mustard seed? Clearly, the mustard seed has some kind of relevance for it to be used as an analogy. I don't know why my friend's arguing with an analogy. I told him that Christ compared the coming of the kingdom of heaven to 10 virgins. Does that mean that the coming of the kingdom of heaven is 10 virgins? No. I told him that Christ also said that you are better to sever your hand and cut out your eye than to allow it to cause you to sin. But did anyone follow that? No. These are analogies. They're not supposed to be taken literally, but if he wants to, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I just have a question. So, the first time we talked, you mentioned about Jesus not knowing the end times. Could you just clarify your position on that again? I just wanted
Absolutely.
to remember it.
The no that we in Mark 13, in Matthew 24:36, there is a question posed to Christ about the hour of his return. And in Matthew, I'm more familiar with that. He says that of that hour no man knows, not the angels in heaven, not the Son, but only the Father. So often people say that this would imply that Christ did not have perfect knowledge, because there was a detail that he himself was not privy to, only the Father was. However, the understanding is wrong. The number one reason why it's wrong is because if you read Matthew, for example, the whole of 24 and 25, Christ goes ahead and explains to you exactly what the end times of his return will be like. Somebody who has no knowledge of when this will happen cannot then describe to you all the events that will occur leading up to it. If I told you that England was going to win the World Cup in the next World Cup, if I told you that England was going to win the World Cup at some point, but I don't know when, and I was able to describe for you all the events that would occur leading up to them winning, who would score at what time, who would score a penalty at what time, what the atmosphere would be, what country the cup will be hosted in, that would imply that I actually do know. Instead, like Christ was doing, it is not his position to declare the hour of the return. Only the Father can.
The analogy my friend gave here was the fact relating to football, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to use the same kind of example.
Okay.
If someone knows the scores all the way up to the final, doesn't mean they know what happens in the final. So the day of judgment could potentially be analogous to the final. Just because they know all of the matches up to the final doesn't mean they are aware of when the final is taking place.
That wasn't quite my analogy. I told you that I tell you that I don't know when England will win the World Cup.
Yeah.
But I can tell you explicit details about how they will win, what, who will score at what time, what country will be hosted in.
I don't care about those details.
I have knowledge.
I care about the fact that he doesn't know. Like in this example, somebody doesn't know when England are going to win the World Cup. That shows that they lack in knowledge in that aspect. Okay.
Okay.
So Jesus, according to the New Testament, lacks in knowledge in some aspects.
Okay.
So he is not all-knowing.
So Christ is all-knowing, and in fact, the funny thing is, there's a very early, I believe a 4th century heresy. It's called agnoate. So A-G-N-O-T-A-E. Sure. And the agnoate heresy is to deny the omnipresence and omniscience of the Father, Son, or Spirit. So if you imply that Christ did not have perfect knowledge, then that would be a heresy. So therefore, it has been understood since the days of the early church that Christ did have perfect knowledge. A great example of this is when you look at the word know. If you look at a verse that showcases the idea here that the know that Christ mentioned is not one to do with intelligence or knowledge, but is the declaration, you can then look at, I believe, 1 Corinthians 2:2, where Paul says, I chose to know nothing but Christ crucified. If we apply the same kind of reasoning here, that because the word know is used, it implies lack of knowledge, can we say in 1 Corinthians 2:2 that Paul did not know his own name, the name of his father, the name of his mother, where he was? All he knew was that Christ was crucified? The answer is no. Instead, that no is a no of declaration, just as with Christ. Christ is not the one to tell you when the hour will happen, but he is completely aware when it will happen.
My friend is still stating that he's still fulfilling the heresy. He's performing the heresy because he's clearly saying Christ doesn't know when the hour will happen.
I didn't.
He doesn't.
No, I didn't say that.
You did. You did. You gave it through an analogy. So he implied it that he believes that. He's just not willing to make that statement categorically on camera.
Okay, so on camera, I will openly say that Christ is omniscient. Christ knows all. So he says, for example, I think in John 5, that as the Father is working until now, and everything the Father does, the Son does. So if the Father is omnipotent and omniscient, so is the Son. So effectively, I am saying categorically that Christ is absolutely aware of the hour, but it is not Christ's job to announce the hour. That will only occur at the appointed time by the Father. Even if you look at Acts, the book of Acts, where it recounts the final moments again of Christ with the disciples. If you asked me what is the tallest mountain in the world, and I told you I don't know, you wouldn't then ask me again. But then when Christ is ascending into heaven, what did the disciples ask him? When is the hour? So again, if Christ did not know the hour and was unaware of it, the disciples would not ask him about it a second time.
Okay, so you mentioned there a bit earlier in the statement that God is omnipresent, and that's you need to believe that to be a Christian. So I just want it from my own understanding. I just want to know.
I didn't say that. I said that. So I said God's omnipresent, right?
Yeah.
To expand on this, we believe in the idea of God having a divine essence, and this is essentially what makes God God.
Yeah.
So when God calls himself the Ancient of Days, the I Am, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, what do these things mean? And we can ascribe certain features to God that help us to understand what these quotations are telling us, such as God is eternal, all-powerful, all-present, and all-knowing.
Okay, so God is all-present. Just from my understanding, is that all three aspects of the Trinity, they are all present, or is it just the Holy Spirit's all present?
So God is present. So when we say present, what we mean is not that in every atom and inch of the observable universe, you will find the Father, Son, and Spirit. But in some way, through God's knowledge and foresight, and the fact that he is eternal, he is in some way all present and all aware of every event that ever has happened, will happen, or is currently happening.
Okay. So, so like, in terms of the human soul aspect of God, right?
Of Christ.
Of Christ,
yeah, sure.
That's all present as well.
Sorry?
The human soul aspect of God, is that all present as well?
So effectively, what is present is, like I said, the divine essence, right? So the divine essence is what makes God God.
Sure.
So by the divine essence, yes, Christ is omnipresent.
Okay, just on this, just what we were talking about before. So the Holy Spirit, in the statement where Jesus makes, no one knows the end times, not even the spirits, but the Father.
He didn't mention the spirits in that. You can look it up. Matthew 24,
Sure. Okay.
36, or Mark 13.
But he clearly specifies only the Father knows.
Yeah.
So he's indicating the Spirit doesn't know either.
No, again, so we covered that again, if you deny the omniscience of the Father, Son, and Spirit,
That's a statement. That's a statement that you guys have as a creed. Doesn't mean it's not what it's saying.
No, that's not what it's saying, because
It is what it's saying.
number one, the Spirit isn't mentioned, right? And again, I told you that
But the Father, only the Father knows. So
yes,
it's clearly saying.
but the no there is a no of declaration, no of intelligence. That's all. Open up your Bible.
Sure.
Go to 1 Corinthians in the New Testament. I can hold it for you. Yeah. Go to 1 Corinthians in the New Testament. Go to 1 Corinthians 2. Yep, and then read verse 2 or 1. Okay, yes, start with verse 1. So 2:1.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so it was to me, brothers and sisters,
Why?
when I came to you, I did not come
Sam,
with
go away,
eloquence of humanness. Okay.
Sorry?
And so it was with me, brothers and sisters, when I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom,
Yep.
as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God.
Okay.
For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified.
Okay. Please tell me what that means. I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. What does that mean?
That just means what it means.
Please explain.
No, you explain, because I don't want to give an incorrect explanation.
No, explain to me. Okay, fine. Explain to me what you understand. That's all.
Okay. And so it was with me, brothers and sisters, when I came to you, I did not come with... Yeah, no, but I've just got a few more points.
He's not a human. Just please.
No, I know, but I'm gonna...
Please carry on.
Okay, sorry. Okay. And so it was with me, brothers and sisters, when I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. Okay. I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed. Yeah. So he did not come with eloquence or human wisdom. So this is quoting Jesus.
No, this is just Paul talking.
Okay, Paul talking.
Yeah, to the Corinthian church.
Yeah. But why? Okay, and so it was with me, brothers and sisters, when I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. Yeah.
Okay, and then verse 2.
For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you please tell me what you understand by verse 2? Because the word no is used.
I mean, just say it, because I don't want to give...
No. I'm not. I'm just saying. What do you understand from the text? I'm not asking you to give me the Christian interpretation. What do you get from it?
I just need to read the whole context as
well. Okay,
sure.
Okay, but effectively, there he has used the word no, but for some reason, you don't quite want to say that means...
No, it's not what I don't want to say. I don't want to just... I'm struggling to get my head around the text.
Okay, that's fine. Effectively, the no there is a no of declaration, not of intelligence. AKA,
but the problem here is you're linking something that Paul says to what Jesus says.
Exactly. So the context is the same. In the same way that we link what Jesus says to what God says in the Old Testament, because the context is the same.
So Jesus in the New Testament, he goes to, I believe, a fig tree.
Yes.
And he gets frustrated at the fig tree.
Yes. And there's literally an entire explanation of it right after he does it.
Yeah, no, I'm just explaining.
Again, it's to showcase a point. A good tree cannot bear bad fruits, and a bad tree.
But why is it stating that he's getting angry? How can he get angry if he is aware of that situation, if he is God himself? How can he get angry at something that he's aware of?
So we believe that God had a human nature and a divine nature. So in the human nature, absolutely he can get angry. We talked about this the first time we met, actually.
So in the human nature, he can get angry.
In the human nature, he can get angry. In the human nature, he can feel the pressure. He can feel the pressure of the impending crucifixion and ask the Father to take the cup from him. He sleeps.
Sorry, need you hold up.
He sleeps. Yeah. He gets tired, and yes, he gets angry with people. Absolutely. In the human nature. So yeah, that's what you're saying.
The reason that he's getting angry in his human nature is because he's not aware of the fact that fig tree wasn't blossoming.
No, but in the fact so he explains it like right afterwards. The fact is that the fig tree is an example of a tree that is not bearing fruits. So when Christ talks about a good tree not being able to bear bad fruit or vice versa, he's talking about us in our encounters with other people. When we do things or encounter other people, our actions following that encounter should be ones that are of God and not of God. And not of God, sorry.
So when, I'm just using the same human nature aspect.
Yeah.
So when he's being crucified and he says, Father, you've forsaken me, is that the human nature of him calling out, or the divine nature?
So that's fulfilled. That's the fulfilled prophecy. That's the exact same. That text is the exact same as Psalm 22 verse 1. Yeah. So Christ is all about fulfilling prophecy. If you read the book of Matthew, if you read all the way through, because Matthew writes to the Jews, right, trying to build the case for why Christ is the Messiah. And often the language for it to be so is used quite a bit in Matthew. So whenever Christ did anything, it wasn't random. It was to showcase that he was indeed the God of the Old Testament.
Sure. When he takes on his human nature, he takes on all aspects of his human nature, right?
Yeah.
So every aspect that every human has.
Yes.
Part of being a human is the ability to forget, right? Because humans have the ability to forget.
Okay.
How can Christ fully take on a human nature and not take on the ability to forget?
Okay.
If he's taking on the ability to forget, he can potentially forget the fact that he is God himself.
Okay, so that is not necessarily true. To be a human being does not mean that you have to forget. We have savants. We have people who have a level of autism to the point where they can remember whole books that they read, right? Now, becoming a human being does not mean that you have to suffer every single affliction that a human being suffers. To say, oh, to be a human being, you have to catch a cold. To be a human being, you have to get like a bone broken or whatever the case might be. These are not the things that make a human being a human. What makes a human is what differentiates us from the animals. Mostly rational thinking. So, when Christ became a human being, Christ, like I told you before, is omniscient. So he does not have the option to forget things because Christ is perfect in every way. In fact, the perfection of Christ is only possible because we believe that in the person of Christ, you have both the divine nature of God and the human nature. So as the divine nature and the human nature exist in the same person, it is then impossible for the human nature to sin.
Okay, so you mentioned there that humans are distinct from animals, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, sorry to bring this back again,
No
but
worries.
just the aliens that we talked about last time.
Oh,
so I just want to understand because I feel like it's a falsification test.
Okay, have time. We are going to veer off into a bit of a weird topic now, okay? That involves aliens. Please bear with us.
Okay, basically, it does sound a bit crazy, but I want to show the fact that the Bible can be falsified by the existence of aliens because if there are aliens, what sin have they committed?
Sorry?
Are they, according to my friend's position earlier, it was that the God of the entire universe, so of the trillions of galaxies, the trillions of planets, the trillions of stars, only manifested himself on Earth, and he can only be referred to by a Hebrew tetragram. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the position my friend held. So I asked him if we ever encounter aliens, which is a possibility, right? What are we going to ask? Are we going to preach the gospel of the fact that the God of the entire universe only manifested himself on our planet? Half the planet doesn't even believe that happened, right? But we're going to preach this to aliens. Why are we preaching this to aliens in the first place? Because what sin have they committed?
Okay, so in this slightly strange offshoot of a topic, if aliens, rational humanoid aliens existed, and it wasn't just some alien fish somewhere on some planet with water, if we actually had these beings, then yes, it would throw parts of the Bible into question, because the idea being that we are made specifically in the image of God. So what would I count the aliens as being? But effectively, if aliens did exist, we would have a hard time preaching to them any religion because they would have their own cultural context, own language, and potential separate means of communication. So yes, if they existed, the gospel might be a hard pill to swallow. And if they exist and they are rational and humanoid, then they also have the ability to go against the will of God. So they could have committed a plethora of sins and preaching the gospel to them would be a challenge.
But the sun never, according to you, the sun never manifested on their planets, right? So he only manifested in this planet.
I can say definitively that according to scripture, the sun manifested in the form of Christ on this planet. It does not mention him doing this on any other planet, so I wouldn't know.
So this guy is sending a warning to the galaxy, right?
Yes, the galaxy.
They're all sinners. This is a really bad message to send.
No, it's not, because
you're all sinners according to this guy, not according to me.
Okay.
You're all sinners, and you all need to believe in God manifesting himself on this tiny planet.
Okay. Well, effectively, yes, assuming that he hasn't done so on your planet.
And half the planet doesn't believe in him, but you guys have to believe in him.
That's fine, because Christ said himself that people would reject him and his message. So Christ, the rest of this will happen. Well, now I would like to hear how the Quran would deal with this. Because how does Allah then deal with the fact that because he has established the Kaaba on this planet, that aliens will then have to veer from all corners of the galaxy and Milky Way to come to Earth to circumnavigate the Kaaba?
So as we discussed last time, there is a Kaaba that is specifically allocated to the angels called
Where is
Bayt al-Mamur.
Where is it?
It's in the heavens.
Hang on.
The obligation of performing Hajj is only on human beings. So there is nothing in the Islamic tradition, to my understanding, that dismisses the fact that aliens don't have their own forms of rituals.
Sorry,
but this guy
is only for the believers. So there could be believing aliens. It doesn't
but I'm
saying human beings.
You have to come with the evidence.
What do we do?
You have to come with the evidence that aliens can't have their own Kaaba, according to you.
How many Kaabas can there be?
Okay, even in our world context, the original Qibla was Jerusalem. So already on Earth, there were two focal points already.
Wait, sorry, what?
So the original Qibla was Jerusalem, right?
But
in the Old Testament, like I showed you in that book, right? I haven't showed you yet.
Okay.
But the Jews used to circumnavigate the tabernacle.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's an issue.
So there already was technically a Kaaba for other people prior to the revelation of the
Prophet. That's an issue. The Kaaba is supposedly something that was constructed by Abraham and Ishmael in the Islamic understanding. So effectively, the Kaaba will predate, if it is true, the Kaaba will predate any of the temples that were built to God. So, can there be more than one Kaaba? The answer is probably not.
No, we're not talking. Look, you're just doing semantics here. I just showed you.
They'd have to come here.
No,
and how would we deal with that?
No, they wouldn't have to come here. How are you making that claim?
For example, the Bayt al-Mamur that you mentioned, it's supposed to be the exact representation of the Kaaba on Earth. So exactly where the Kaaba is,
you've done your research.
The Bayt al-Mamur is supposed to be above it. So if there's only one Bayt al-Mamur that lives in the 7th heaven...
I'm not saying the aliens have to go to Bayt al-Mamur. I'm giving an example of beings that are not humans that have their own version of the Kaaba.
But ultimately,
that could potentially mean...
they'd have to come here because there's only one Kaaba. So how do we deal with that?
No, that's incorrect.
How many Kaabas are there? There's one here, one in heaven, and that's it.
Where does it categorically say that statement?
Do we know any other Kaabas?
I'm just saying the fact that
don't forget, the Kaaba,
we are meant to preach to aliens, if they do exist, is that there is one God worthy of worship, and there's nothing like him. You are preaching there is a human manifestation of God. There is only a human manifestation of God, right? That you're all sinners, aliens. There's only one God, and there's only one manifestation of God on earth, and he came in a human flesh.
Okay, so
that's
again,
you as a Muslim also recognize that there is something only for humans from God. From Allah, there's something that's only for humans. There's a way that's only meant for humans, such as going to. Even if there is something else, there's something only for humans. Now, in the Bible, there are the Seraphim and the Nephilim. In the Old Testament, yes. These are not human beings. They're not entirely angels either. They can procreate with humans. Are they aliens? Are they whatever? We don't know.
Yeah.
There are other beings that are also mentioned. Now, what is their path to salvation? We don't know. We don't need to know. Does God say, that there are aliens or not? What He does say is that we cannot leave this realm. We as human beings will never live on another planet. What does that mean to me?
Sorry, can you just repeat that bit there? That we as humans can't leave this planet.
Are bound to this realm. We will always live here. So we may go maybe to Mars. We will never live on Mars. We won't do this.
So there's a falsification test right there. If humanity establishes a base on Mars,
there is a
it's false. The Bible's false. There we go. Okay.
We'll try it out.
Okay.
But that's not happened yet.
Do you agree with that?
That's certainly not happened. So we are bound to the earthly realm. But why does he say that? Because maybe because there are other places, there are other planets that we can go to. Even here, we as human beings are rational creatures.
Yeah.
But there's nothing preached to dogs. There's nothing preached to cats.
Yeah.
There's nothing. These things don't. It doesn't. Our salvation does not need to work for other beings. There's no requirement for that.
Yeah, but I'm just stating in the expansion in the entire universe, which this is such an anthropomorphized position to hold, that God only came in the form of human flesh, right?
Save humans, but isn't it also anthropomorphized then to say that humans have to be saved only? Well, not saved, but to put the obligation of going to, for example, Mecca only on humans.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you have to justify your claim that aliens are obligated to go to Mecca and Mecca alone, because I'm giving context. Yeah, but I'm saying that's not the position I hold. That's not the position I hold.
Not the position I hold either.
But he's saying that aliens can only come to the aliens have to perform Hajj. Where is he getting that statement from? I'm not the one that made that claim. He made that claim.
I mean, we're not experts on.
I mean, if you two want to have this conversation, please go ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's a bit of a weird one. I know.
It's not a weird one. It just shows
it is very weird.
How,
but bottom line is,
it's a falsification test.
If truly aliens were out there,
yeah.
and they were rational like human beings,
Yeah.
they had the breath of life blown in them by God, then yes, they would also have to follow the gospel.
Because they,
That's all.
I just want to understand, because they sinned.
Because if they are rational creatures, that implies that they have the ability to exercise their free will, so they can either go against or go for God. It's that simple. But then the problem is with Islam has you participate in certain ritualistic acts
Which is only obligated
that
on
must
human
be
beings.
fulfilled. So since Islam does not specify that only human beings can partake in it, that would mean that the aliens would have to come here.
Doesn't mean that people can do their research for themselves.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Sure.
All right, anything else?
I mean, I just wanted to say, what were your thoughts on our discussion on Isaiah 42?
That it is not Muhammad? Actually, I have one for
I think
you.
we wanted to go to Isaiah 21 next, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm not categorically.
Okay.
We can do this
So
another time.
if we're gonna read the entirety of Isaiah 21, let's do that next week.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.